Hey everyone, welcome back to RJK English. We are on the final chapter of Siddhartha. Maybe you're taking TOEFL and you're trying to practice your English, or maybe you're, you know, uh, trying to move into an advanced stage of English, or maybe you're studying Siddhartha in school, or maybe you really like South Asian philosophy or Buddhism in particular. Well, we're going to finish up here. Siddhartha is written by a German writer, a great German writer, Hermann Hesse, who lived in the late 1800s. So he is writing about the Buddha, but it is his Buddha. It's a little bit different. All right, so Vasudeva has left Siddhartha. Siddhartha has heard the true voice of the river, and he has noticed that it reflects all of the voices of the world. And all the voices of the world, as those voices seek out and feel pain and experience the cycle of life, the endless cycle of birth and death and beginning and ending. But all of those come together to the Om. All right, so let's go ahead and start. Govinda. Who is Govinda? Govinda is Siddhartha's old friend. Govinda became a follower of the Buddha. So, Govinda. Govinda once spent a rest period with some other monks in the pleasure grove which Kamala, the courtesan, had once presented to the followers of Gautama. Gautama is the Buddha. He heard talk of an old ferryman who lived by the river, a day's journey away, and whom many considered to be a sage. Who is that? It's Vasudeva. It's either Vasudeva or it's Siddhartha. I don't know which. When Govinda moved on, he chose the path to the ferry, eager to see this ferryman. For although he had lived his life according to the rule, and was also regarded with respect by the younger monks for his age and modesty, the rule, I'm guessing this is the rules of being a follower of the Buddha, though he had done this, there was still a restlessness in his heart, and his seeking was unsatisfied, even though he had followed the Buddha. He arrived at the river and asked the old man to take him across. Is that old man Vasudeva? No, Vasudeva left. When they climb out of the boat on the other side, he said to the old man, You show much kindness to the monks and pilgrims. You have taken many across. Are you not also a seeker of the right path? There was a smile in Siddhartha's old eyes as he said, Do you call yourself a seeker, O venerable one? You who are already advanced in years and wear the robe of Gautama's monks. I am indeed old, said Govinda, but I have never ceased seeking. I will never cease seeking. That seems to be my destiny. It seems to me that you also have sought. Will you talk to me a little about it, my friend? Siddhartha said, What could I say to you that would be of value, except that perhaps you seek too much, that as a result of your seeking you cannot find? How is that? Asked Govinda. When someone is seeking, said Siddhartha, it happens quite easily that he only sees the thing that he is seeking, that he is unable to find anything, unable to absorb anything, because he's only thinking about the thing that he is seeking, because he has a goal, because he is obsessed with his goal. Seeking means to have a goal, but finding means to be free, to be receptive, to have no goal. Sorry, I'm in Baltimore City and we have helicopters that fly overhead for news, or they're looking for someone. So I apologize. One moment. Should be going away. We have a tornado warning, so it might be looking for that. Okay. It seems quite easily. Yeah. Uh, you, O worthy one, are perhaps indeed a seeker, for in striving towards your goal, you do not see many things that are under your nose. Here we are. I do not quite yet understand, said Govinda. How do you mean? Siddhartha said, Once, O worthy one, many years ago, you came to this river and found a man sleeping there. You sat beside him to guard him while he slept, but you did not recognize the sleeping man, Govinda. Astonished and like one bewitched, the monk gazed at the ferryman. Are you Siddhartha? He asked in a timid voice. I did not recognize you this time, too. I'm very pleased to see you again, Siddhartha, very pleased. You have changed very much, my friend, and have you become a ferryman now? Siddhartha laughed warmly. Yes, I have become a ferryman. Many people have changed a great deal and wear all sorts of clothes. I am one of those, my friend. You are very welcome, Govinda, and I invite you to stay the night in my hut. Govinda stayed the night in the hut and slept in the bed that had once been Vasudeva's. He asked the friend of his youth many questions, and Siddhartha had a great deal to tell him about his life. When it was time for Govinda to depart the following morning, when it was time for Govinda to depart the following morning, he said with some hesitation, "Before I go on my way, Siddhartha, I should like to ask you one more question. Have you a doctrine, belief, or knowledge which you uphold, which helps you to live and do right?" Siddhartha said, "You know, my friend, that even as a young man, when we lived with the ascetics in the forest, I came to distrust doctrines and teachers and to turn my back on them. I am still of the same turn of mind, although I have, since that time, had many teachers. A beautiful courtesan was my teacher for a long time, and a rich merchant and a dice player. On one occasion, one of the Buddha's wandering monks was my teacher. He halted in his pilgrimage to sit beside me when I fell asleep in the forest. I also learned something from him, and I am grateful to him, very grateful. Who is that? That is Govinda. But most of all, I have learned from this river and from my predecessor Vasudeva. He was a simple man. He was not a thinker, but he realized the essential as well as the Gautama, as well as the he realized the essential as well as Gautama. He was a holy man, a saint. Govinda said, "It seems to me, Siddhartha, that you still like to jest a little. I believe you and know that you have not followed any teacher. But have you not yourself, if not a doctrine, certain thoughts? Have you not discovered certain knowledge yourself that has helped you to live? It would give me great pleasure if you would tell me something about this." Siddhartha said, "Yes, I have had thoughts and knowledge here and there. Sometimes for an hour or for a day, I have become aware of knowledge, just as one feels life in one's heart. I have had many thoughts, but it would be difficult for me to tell you about them. But this one thought has impressed me, Govinda. Wisdom is not communicable. The wisdom which a wise man tries to communicate always sounds foolish." Okay, this is really key. Wisdom is not communicable. You can't communicate wisdom. And when you try, it sounds foolish. "Are you jesting?" asked Govinda. "No, I'm telling you what I have discovered. Knowledge can be communicated, but not wisdom. One can find it, live it, be fortified by it, do wonders through it, but one cannot communicate and teach it. I suspected this when I was still a youth, and it was this that drove me away from teachers. There is one thought I have had, Govinda, which you will again think is a jest or folly. That is, in every truth, the opposite is equally true." You should write that down, along with "you can't communicate wisdom." That is, in every truth, the opposite is equal to true. For example, the truth can only be expressed and enveloped in words if it is one-sided. Everything that is thought and expressed in words is one-sided, only half the truth. It all lacks totality, completeness, unity. Okay, let's stop for a second. I think I've talked about this before, but according to Buddhism and Hinduism, when it comes to the Upanishadic thought, language is a trap because it's not real life. So I'm going to give you two ultimate examples. If any of you have had children, I have not. If you've had a child and they're born, when you see them, you feel something. And it's something that you cannot tell anyone what you're feeling. The only way it's communicated in any way is if other people have also experienced that. But you can't put it in words. And if you do try to put it in words, you felt it first. and your words are talking around it. So once you talk, people can grab onto those words and they go, oh, I know what it means to have a child. You know about it. The other would be grief. I mean, one would be love. Okay, love was another, but I'm going to go to grief because we saw Siddhartha go through grief. Grief is something that you have to go through that never totally heals. And you can't explain to anybody what you're feeling, and no one can comfort you. What I've heard of people that go through extreme grief is the only thing that comforts them is being around other people who have grieved. Because those other people, and I'm going to curse for a second, they don't tell you bullshit. They don't tell you a bunch of bullshit. Like, oh, it's going to get better. It's going to get better. No, that person that's grieved knows that it won't get better. You will get past it in a certain way, but it will never fully heal. And in a way you don't want it to heal because that means you lose the person. You're struggling inside. That is non-communicable. You can't communicate that. So true experience is real truth, and that's where wisdom is. Wisdom comes from knowledge and experience together, and that can't be taught. So Siddhartha is trying to show that truth is somehow has both in it. It has its opposite within it. But when you express it in words, it's only one-sided. Words are a mask on top of life. They are definitely necessary, but they don't really explain life as it truly is. They can describe some things. So let's go back with that knowledge and finish off this paragraph. When the illustrious Buddha taught about the world, he had to divide it into samsara and nirvana. Samsara is the circle of birth and rebirth and pain, and nirvana is enlightenment. He had to divide it into samsara and nirvana, into illusion and truth, into suffering and salvation. One can't do otherwise. There's no other method for those who teach. But the world itself, being in and around us, is never one-sided. Never is a man or a deed wholly samsara or wholly nirvana, meaning completely samsara or completely nirvana. Never is a man wholly, completely, a saint or a sinner. This only seems so because we suffer the illusion that time is something real. Time is not real, Govinda. I have realized this repeatedly. And if time is not real, then the dividing line that seems to lie between this world and eternity, between suffering and bliss, between good and evil, is also an illusion. So what is the difference between a grieving person and a healed person? Time. What is the difference between a person that hasn't found love yet and one that has found love? Time. What is the difference between a person that's young and a person that's old? Time. What's the difference between a person that is born and a person that dies? Time. And he's saying time is not real, just like the river. They happen together. There's not even a difference between good and evil. It's also an illusion. How is that? Asked Govinda, puzzled. We're going to stop there. We'll come back on the next one, and I think we'll probably have 2 more videos. Okay, so come back next time, and we'll keep going. All right. Make sure to like and subscribe, and tell another person about this, and go and make sure to comment. Tell me what you think, and go to RJK English on Facebook, and we can have further conversation. Okay, see you.